Good evening, everyone. My name is Barbara Lafitte Oluwole. I'm a leader with Faith in Action East Bay and a longtime active member of the Illegal Dumping Local Organizing Committee, and I represent District 3. I want to welcome each and every one of you and thank you for your participation in this important meeting. Please introduce yourself in the chat. I wish we had time to meet every single one on this call, but there's not going to be enough time for that. So please put your name and the congregation or organization you're with in the chat. I will begin by inviting my colleagues who will be leading this meeting to introduce themselves. Start with Ernestine. Is she here? Okay.
It's one of the police things.
Ernestine, are you here?
She's muted.
Not yet, but I will as soon as I hang up.
Hi, my name is Ernestine Wilson, and I'm a leader with Faith in Action East Bay, and I am a charter member of the Bay Area Christian Connection. Thank you.
Irene.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Irene González, del Defenderse de la Bahía, pertenezco a la iglesia de San Antonio y ahorita estoy con ustedes en el tiradero ilegal de basura. Se la paso al señor, a señora Emma.
Perdón, creo que son los que están en la
John.
gente, entonces
Hi,
quizás.
my name is John
Bárbara,
Brockett.
¿quieres
I'm with Faith in Action East Bay, part of the Illegal Dumping Local Organizing Committee. I'm a member of Trinity Fellowship.
Sierra has a got
Manuel.
a little side.
Mi nombre es Manuel Arias y soy miembro de la Fe en Acción East Bay y también soy miembro del grupo del tiradero ilegal de basura. Gracias.
Good evening. My name is Reverend Duran Jenkins. I am a leader at Faith in Action East Bay. I am also a member of Bay Area Christian Connection and a member of Ceasefire Custom Notifications. I now pass it over to my colleague, Cherie.
Hi, my name is Cherie Woods. I am a leader with Faith in Action East Bay and a member of the Illegal Dumping LLC. And I represent District 7, and I'm a member of the Bay Area Christian Connection.
Good evening. My name is Mary Forte. I live in District 6. I'm a member of the Block by Block Organizing Network, District 6 and 7, and a member of the Illegal Dumping Local Organizing Committee.
María.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Suárez, soy líder del tiradero ilegal de la basura y pertenezco a la iglesia de San Bernardo.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Chris Moreno, organizador con Faith in Action East Bay y soy parte del Distrito 7.
Thanks, everyone. Now I would like to invite our guests to introduce themselves so we can know who's in the room with us this evening. We start with City Administrator. Is Councilmember Carroll Fife.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carroll Fife, and I'm the council member for Oakland's District 3. I did have a meeting with the city administrator, Justin Johnson, who said he would be on the call, but he's in transit. I'm happy to be here with you all for this research meeting so we can once again, tackle this question that we've been working on for quite some time together. I will pass it to Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Kevin Jenkins, Councilmember District 6, to be here with you this evening, tackling this problem that is ridding my community and ridding the rest of Oakland. So I look forward to a fruitful conversation and getting rid of this problem.
Thank you very much. I would like to invite staff of the City Administrator's Office who are here. I think Kirsten is here.
Hi, I'll go. I'm Kristen Hathaway, Assistant Director for the Public Works Department with the Bureau of Environment. Our divisions are the Keep Oakland Clean and Beautiful teams, Parks and Tree Services, and Environmental Services. Nice to be here tonight.
I think Dr. Ford is here as well.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Michael Ford with the Department of Transportation, and I manage our Parking and Mobility Division, which includes abandoned auto and parking enforcement. And I'm not sure if there's any other staff on the call.
Yeah. Thank you all so much. And thank you for introducing yourselves, and we welcome you. Before we continue, I would like to remind you that we are providing English and Spanish translations. And if you are monolingual, you must click on the world icon at the bottom of your screen and choose the language you prefer.
Buenas tardes. Antes de continuar, les quería recordar a las personas de habla en español que esta reunión está siendo traducida. Entonces, si ven en la parte inferior de su pantalla, dice interpretación y tienen que elegir el lenguaje en español para poder escuchar. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're now going to have one of our leaders. I'm not sure it was going to be Rene or Maria, to let everyone know who we are.
Okay, yo Irene. Buenas tardes. Fe en Acción del Este de la Bahía y Block by Block Organizer Network presentan a miles de familias de las llanuras del este, centro, oeste y norte de Oakland. Como humanos nos negamos a aceptar que debemos pasar por encima de montones de basura para ir a las escuelas y hacer actividades diarias. Nuestra visión es que nuestros vecindarios estén limpios y nuestras familias tengan trabajo, viviendas limpias, ecológicas, accesibles y no temer a la deportación, el desplazamiento, la violencia policial y la discriminación racial. Continuaremos organizándonos en colaboración con los funcionarios de nuestra ciudad, Obras Públicas de Oakland y Departamento de Transporte hasta que se encuentre una solución para mantener limpias nuestras calles y nuestras comunidades reciban los servicios que se merecen. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Irene. Given that we are a faith-based organization, I would like to invite Cherie to lead us in our opening reflection. You're muted.
Oh. Excuse me. So according to my faith religion, this is what I'm going to read for us tonight. It is Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff will comfort me. Thou preparest a table before in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Ernestine, could you please give us the purpose for our meeting?
Yes, good evening again. The purpose of today's meeting is to address our concerns and ascertain what actions the City of Oakland's elected and appointed officials will take to enforce the current policies related to illegal dumping. Also, if there are new initiatives proposed, acquaint us with them. Our efforts are aimed at addressing the lack of enforcement that the city desperately needs to enact permanent solutions. We hope to gain a better understanding of our plans as well as yours, and explore ways we can collaborate effectively and permanently to solve this problem. Now I would like to invite John to share what we recently saw in Oakland.
On August 31st of this year, 3 of us, Barbara, Chris, and I, from our LLC, drove around Oakland observing illegal dumping sites. And I have a little presentation for you, and I can say some of us were really shocked by some of the things we saw. We started in East Oakland, and this is what we saw at 85th and East Avenue. You can see it's pretty much a mess, both an abandoned vehicle and trash together. More trash in the same area. This is at the end of 105th Avenue. You can see that this is right next to a creek, and all the trash is going to wash down into the creek and pollute the water and the bay. This you can see trash right by residential housing, where children come and walk to school past this trash every day. An Oakland 311 sign, which is only a few feet from where the previous trash was. Obviously, Oakland 311 is not working like it should. Abandoned autos in East Oakland. Trash on International near 106. More trash. This is at 98th and B Street, some tennis courts that has become basically a dumping ground. A lot of people just bag up their trash and put it next to a bin they think it's going to be picked up. More trash. Abandoned autos. This one apparently burned. More trash. This is at 80 on Bancroft between 86th and 90th. People throwing out their tires. More trash. This is at 85th and International. There are all kinds of trash around, and you know, people walk by this every day. More trash, big piles. More trash. This is around 23rd and San Leandro Street. More trash. Abandoned vehicles. And now we're in West Oakland. We have abandoned vehicles. More trash. At Wood Street, here's a big pile of trash. More trash. More abandoned vehicles. And that's just a few of the slides that we took.
Thank you, John. And this presentation further sheds light on the ongoing illegal dumping crisis in our city. And all of us see this every day, at least some form of it. So right now I would like to go over the instructions for the questions portion of the meeting. This meeting is being recorded. We have an agenda prepared that includes questions that were previously submitted to all of our guests. The questions will be shown on the screen in both English and Spanish. If you have any questions during the meeting, please type them into the chat box. We will have someone monitoring the chat box in case we have time to answer additional questions. And if we don't have time to address the chat box questions, we will address your questions after the meeting and get back to you. Our guests will be allowed a certain amount of time to respond to each question. We have a timekeeper who will keep us on time, so this meeting can end as close to an hour as possible. Just a reminder that we have simultaneous interpretation, so please keep your pace in mind when you speak. So we'll now move into the questions portion of our meeting, and you'll each have 10 minutes to answer all 5 questions. The questions will be presented by our leaders and displayed on the screen. To kick things off, we're asking the City Administrator, Johnson, if he's here, to tackle the first 2 questions. If not, maybe Kristen might be able to help us with the responses to those questions. Councilmembers Fife and Jenkins, please share your thoughts if you have any additional insights to add to C.A. Johnson's responses. We encourage you to respond thoughtfully, and if you don't have anything new to contribute, there's no obligation to speak up. Questions 3 and 4 will be directed to C.A. Johnson and Councilmembers Fife and Jenkins. And finally, question 5 directly relates to the council members. Thank you very much. We'll start with our first question with Ernestine.
As a resident of this city, I've observed illegal dumping and abandoned vehicles becoming increasingly more and more frustrating. We want to hear from your perspective how local agencies and those that are under your supervision are addressing these issues and what's being done to resolve most, if not all, of these problems, please. You have the local agency, excuse me, I'm reading and I missed the first word, I apologize. How have the local agencies been addressing the issue of illegal dumping and abandoned vehicles across the flatlands? And can you provide insights into the implementation of their strategies?
May I ask if the city administrator is here? I can't see anyone. If so, could you please respond to this question? If not, Kristen, would you like to take a stab at it?
Ms. Hathaway, would you like for me to reread the question?
No, that's not necessary. I can see it on the screen. And if yes, I don't know if City Administrator Johnson is here, but I do want to recognize that our 2 council members are here, and I will certainly defer to them if they prefer to answer this question. But I can speak to programs that Public Works has been implementing to address illegal dumping.
Thank you.
Yes, and if the council members have anything to add, please come on and add. Can you, whoever's spotlighting folks, can you please spotlight the council members as well, in case they have something to say? Go ahead, Kristen. Thank you.
Sure. So the Oakland Public Works Department runs a number of programs to address illegal dumping. We have 58 full-time staff in our illegal dumping unit. We respond to illegal dumping through response to service requests, to proactive work where we patrol the city and 4 zones of the city, actively picking up illegal dumping, and we also support the city administrator's office in their encampment management by cleaning up litter and illegal dumping at homeless encampments at the direction of the encampment management team. We recognize that enforcement is a critical component of this because we can pick up a lot of trash, and we do. In 2022, our KOCB crews cleaned up approximately 9,000 tons of illegal dumping, and our staff are fully deployed through our numerous types of services. We have an illegal dumping surveillance camera program to catch illegal dumpers, which is monitored by our environmental enforcement officers. And this summer, we were approved by council to add license plate reader cameras to our surveillance camera program so that we can catch more of the dumpers, because approximately 50% of the dumpers that we are catching on camera, we're not able to read their license plate if they do have a license plate. So we'll be returning to council with a request to add that those license plate reader cameras. We have numerous programs that address this, and those are fully detailed in the illegal dumping informational report that we brought to the Public Works Committee this spring. So I know we don't have time here, but I'm happy to share a copy of that report if anyone wants to see comprehensive information on how we're addressing this issue.
Thank you.
Would any of the council members like to add responses to this question?
Is Dr. Ford on to address abandoned vehicles?
Yeah, good evening, Councilmember Jenkins and everybody. Yeah, Michael Ford is here, and I'm happy to support. I was able to come to the last meeting and gave some detailed responses. So if there's any thing specific that I can add, I'd be happy to address the concerns or questions.
If you could just give us a small explanation of some of the things you're doing to address abandoned vehicles for folks who were not on that last call.
Thank you. Absolutely. So I think the most important thing is that City Council a couple of years ago directed staff to do a reorganization that brought abandoned auto from the police department into the Department of Transportation. That was a very complicated reorganization. We had to create an entirely new unit. We're in the process of creating a new classification. Since DOT started towing in February, we're on pace to tow twice as many abandoned vehicles as OPD did in 2022. However, that's only half of the story. Even as we're increasing our capabilities, the demand is also increasing. So I think in addition to what I've shared with this group in the past, I think one of the most important things that we need to do is really crawl inside of the reasons that we're towing vehicles. I think when people think of abandoned autos, they think of vehicles that are stored on the street for more than 72 hours or for lengthy times. That code only represents about 6.5% of the vehicles that we're actually towing. 35% of the vehicles we're towing are stolen. 25% of the vehicles are blighted and inoperable. So we really need to ask ourselves why the demand is growing. And it's pretty clear that it has to do with things that are much bigger, but we need to address these systematically. So I'll stop there and then happy to contribute to the discussion as we go forward.
So I understand Ms. LaTonda Simmons is here from the City Administrator's Office. If you would like to give us a couple of minutes, and can we spotlight the timekeeper so we can know where we are, please?
Good evening. This is LaTonda Simmons. My camera isn't working, so I'll figure that out. Is the request for me to respond to the question that was spotlighted?
I thought someone said they saw your hand up, so I just wanted to recognize you. I can't see. I can't see everything. I'm sorry, but if you wanted to respond, I just wanted to make sure we recognized you.
Thank you for that. I will add that a distinguishing characteristic of illegal dumping is that it is not encumbered by what we would call a property right. This becomes meaningful to the extent that you see illegal dumping in encampments, whereby the inhabitants can sometimes claim portions of those things that are dumped there as their property. And that then hyperextends the city's response to being able to address illegal dumping. Similarly, such is also the case with respect to abandoned vehicles, where the registration can be directly attributed to the individual in possession of the vehicle. And I think that that is not made evident when you are looking at the accumulation of things and vessels on the streets. That I just wanted to add that.
Thank you so much. How much time do we have left on this question, Cherie? Is the time up?
Three minutes and 31 seconds.
Okay, well, actually, we could go on and move to the next, unless Councilmember Carroll Fife would like to add something to this.
No, I think this DOT and Public Works have the answers that we're looking for, or they're leading us in the right direction. I would ask that Michael Ford repeat those percentages for the tolls again, just for my personal edification.
Okay.
And yeah, absolutely. And I'll repeat them, and I'll also try to paste an image into the chat so that you could see the totals. But we're talking over 30% stolen, 30% are violations of registration. So the vehicle hasn't been registered for 6 or more months. Completely inoperable over 17%. And like I said, I'll take an image of this and drop it in the chat.
Thank you, Dr. Ford, and all who responded to this question. Let's move on to question number 2.
Sí, mi nombre es Manuel Arias y he vivido en el Distrito 5 por más de 60 años. He participado con OCO, que hoy fue en acción por más de 45 años, y nunca he tenido la experiencia que tengo hoy, que estamos viviendo hoy, porque he participado en múltiples asuntos que están relacionados con la ciudad, con la comunidad, y me duele tanto al vivir en Oakland, ver basura ilegal y vehículos abandonados en nuestras calles. Ha sido frustrante y estado afectando mi bienestar emocional. Puedo decir que miles de familias pueden identificar con mí este sentimiento. Es importante para nosotros entender quién participa activamente en la solución de este problema y a qué departamento pertenecen. Y la pregunta, ¿podría compartir detalles sobre la cantidad de personas o departamento involucrado en los esfuerzos para combatir los vertidos ilegales y vehículos abandonados en nuestras comunidades? Estoy muy frustrado y de veras que estoy frustrado, porque puedo agregar que durante 45 años que he participado en un OCO, es la experiencia más amarga que tengo y porque están involucrados los niños que van a las escuelas y pisan en donde no deben y sufren lo que no deben de sufrir. Por eso estoy tan frustrado que quisiera hacer algo más y me siento con las manos atadas. Gracias.
Very good.
Thank you, Manuel. Kristen, would you like to take a stab at this question first?
Sure, I can start us off. So there's many individuals who are involved in combating illegal dumping. In Public Works, we have a number of units that are dedicated to it in different ways. And so it's complex. And so I will again point folks to the informational report on illegal dumping that we provided to the Public Works Committee in June of this year. I dropped a link to the report in the chat so that everybody can see that. But in brief, we have our Keep Oakland Clean and Beautiful Crews, like I said, there's 58 staff that are dedicated to picking up illegal dumping. We have environmental enforcement officers who enforce against illegal dumping. We have 8 budgeted positions, and 5 of those are currently filled. We're currently recruiting for the others, plus the supervisor who runs that program. We have a street sweeping unit that obviously cleans up debris. We have a stewardship team and environmental services division who works with volunteers to clean up debris in the community. So there are many folks involved from Public Works. Obviously, as I said, we support the work of the city administrator's office in their efforts to manage homeless encampments and with the clean enclosures. And you know, the DOT and others. So there's many departments who are involved. So I'm just sort of scratching the surface, but that's a brief answer, and the report provides more detail. Michael, did you want to
I'm
add?
sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm muted. I was asking Dr. Ford to respond. I'm wondering, why wasn't he saying anything?
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. So yeah, in response, City Council created 3 additional positions for the Vehicle Enforcement Unit in DOT to specifically help with the city's encampment management team. And that's been tremendously helpful. It means that we're not taking staff that should be dealing with blighted vehicles in non-encampment situations. We're not taking them and putting them on the encampment management team operations. I think right now, though, what we need to do is make sure that we not only continue to tow as many blighted vehicles as we can and help with the encampment management team, but what we really need to do is prepare for the spring when we go back to council for the mid-cycle and make sure we have a really detailed analysis and we let the council know exactly what we need to respond to the magnitude of the problem and not sugarcoat it, and just really say, if we want to tackle this, this is how much it's going to take. So we'll be definitely ready to do that. And the numbers that I shared in the chat there sort of tell an interesting story. So I'll stop there.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Fife, would you like to respond?
I just want to let Mr. Ford know that that is exactly the information that I'm looking for. What do departments need to tackle the critical issues that we all care about? Bring that to us. And if we don't have it in the budget, then we need to go find the money for our departments and our city staff to have what they need to combat this issue. So I'm looking forward to that in the mid-cycle process.
Councilmember Jenkins?
Nothing to add to that. Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to question number 3.
Good evening, everyone. As a concerned member of this community, the persistent problem of illegal dumping and abandoned vehicles, especially around some of our educational institutions that our students have to walk past to get to, has deeply frustrated me and thousands of families across the flatlands. It is crucial to understand what plan is in place to eliminate this issue and who among the council members and team members is actively working to bring about positive change. I know we're always talking about the street sweeping teams and the enforcement issues, but what we really need, we need true enforcement. We need true answers, and we need true resolutions. One that does not take days and days and weeks. So the question I ask is, what is the comprehensive plan currently in place to address and eliminate the problem of illegal dumping and abandoning vehicles on our streets? And which council members or other team members are actively collaborating with your offices to tackle this issue?
Again, I'm going to ask you, Kristen, to lead off on this question.
Yeah, so we are, there are a number of initiatives that we're pursuing because we know that just picking up litter is not the solution to this issue, because we could put, another, couple dozen folks on the street, and sometimes it seems the more we pick up, the more that is generated. So we are trying to focus our efforts on enforcing illegal dumpers. So we currently have 16 cameras. We got approval in the budget to purchase 4 more cameras. We could probably use a lot more cameras than that. Like I said, we have license plate reader cameras that we're adding to our program. We need to make sure that businesses have adequate garbage service, and we're pursuing some options for ensuring that businesses have the garbage service that they're legally required to have. We have an estimate of at least 2,500 businesses in the city that don't have garbage service. So they're obviously putting that garbage somewhere. So we're looking at putting a program in place to better enforce against those, and in cooperation with Waste Management, who's our solid waste provider. We have started a program called the Neighborhood Bulky Block program. We have once a month where residents can bring large debris to our municipal service center at Edgewater Drive to dispose of it for free. And we have a number of other programs where people can get free large waste disposal from Waste Management through appointments or drop-offs at Davis Street. Those services are being underutilized by Oakland residents. So we are trying to promote that is an option for people to freely dispose of waste. The neighborhood bulky block parties bring this program to the various council districts. We had one on October 14th on High Street at the Walgreens, and we had 181 cars come. So we're really trying to promote that there are options other than just dumping on the streets. But we are going to continue to look at ways to ramp up our enforcement, look at options to partner with the Alameda County District Attorney's Office and the Alameda County Sheriff's Office to see if we can do some sting operations against illegal dumpers. So, that is, I believe, where we have to put our efforts and make sure that people have places to put their garbage, so there's no incentive, and that if people come to dump on the streets of Oakland, whether they're Oakland residents, which we're finding in our data, most of the people dumping on the streets are actually Oakland residents, or people coming from outside the city, know that if they dump, they will be caught, they will be cited, and other penalties will take place.
Thank you. Dr. Ford?
Yeah, thank you. I want to go back to what I was saying about the importance of really looking at where the abandoned blighted vehicles are coming from, and that we develop specific strategies for addressing each of those. One of the things that the city administration is already doing is one of the deputy city administrators, Mr. DeVries, has reunited the abandoned auto task force. So we're working with the police department, we're working with code compliance, we're working with other agencies in order to develop more than just technicians going out and tagging and towing vehicles. We're going to actually go after some of the underlying root causes. So I think that is going to be key in terms of the long-term strategy. Again, why so many vehicles are inoperable, why so many of the vehicles are 6 months more out of registration. It could be that we're dealing with dealers who are exploiting the auction process, and they're engaged in some sort of illegal dealer operations, and they're storing or dumping the vehicles on Oakland streets. But we want to find out who those people are and hold them accountable so that we stop that storage and dismantling of vehicles. There's other strategies that we're exploring as well. So I'll stop there.
Hmm. Councilmember Fife, you seem a little surprised to hear that.
That was new to me. I don't think I completely understood. What is a potential origin of these excess abandoned vehicles on our streets, Mr. Ford?
So so if you've got a large number of vehicles that are not registered, it's possible that they were purchased through an auction and were not re-registered. So you've got an owner that may be for a vehicle that's 12, 18, 24 months old, and the vehicle has not been re-registered by the person who bought it at an auction. And they're gaming the system in ways that sometimes translate to vehicles being on our streets. And so we're looking at working with the DMV. There's also a statewide task force to go after illegal dismantling operations, which are somewhat tied to that. And so, I expect within the next 3 months, we should have some pretty good idea of how we can go after these upstream sources of the abandoned and blighted vehicles.
Thank you. What about you, Councilmember Jenkins? Any thoughts?
Yeah, so I think it's important to mention the work of Supervisor Miley and attacking this from a regional perspective. And Supervisor Miley recently, I think in April it was, had his 3rd annual conference, illegal dumping conference. I, for one, hope that he never has another illegal dumping conference again, that we eradicate ourselves of this problem so that we're not focused in on that. But from that comes best practices and things that we can do to help our departments. And my job as a policymaker is to look at what's going on and see how I can best help the departments. And so one of the things Supervisor Miley and I are working on is a drone pilot program aimed at illegal dumping in East Oakland. And so we are working on getting that policy together and taking it to the Privacy Commission. But those are the things that we can do from our perspective as policymakers.
I just wanted to know if there are any guidelines for all the motorhomes that are all over our city and trash all around them. Are there any guidelines or requirements for how long they can stay, how they keep up the property around where they're parked? That's overwhelming. We had homelessness, but we never had this many motorhomes all over everywhere, parked and trash all around it. So I want to know what's being done. Are there guidelines? Do they fine them for having that filth and stuff? Do they fine them for staying too long in one position? What is being done about all the excess motorhomes all over East and West Oakland?
I would like to say that we're going to allow this question because we still have 2 minutes. But if we can just stick to the questions that we have on the board and place your questions in the chat box would be great, and we can address them at the end of the meeting, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Dr. Ford, do you want to take a little stab at that?
I will acknowledge that the problem is getting worse. Over the last couple of point-in-time surveys where the county is counting the number of unhoused, the number of unhoused who are using vehicles and RVs as homes is steadily going up. So we now have thousands of people living in vehicles and including RVs. And as everybody in the room knows, it's extremely complex. DOT is proudly contributing to the effort, the interdepartmental effort led by the encampment management team to try to manage these situations. But it's extremely complex. It's not a matter of fining people or finding the authority. It goes way beyond that because we're sort of operating outside of the normal regulatory enforcement cycle. So, but I'm very proud to be a part of the effort that's going into trying to manage it.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to question number 4.
So question number 4, for the past 7 years, our community, sorry, you guys, sorry, there's a timer. So for the past 7 years, our community has worked closely with city elected appointed officials like yourselves to combat illegal dumping and abandoned vehicles. The recent change in administration at OPW has affected the follow-up and continuity of our efforts in this regard. What do you all need from us to make sure that work gets done and to avoid decisions being made without community input?
I could start on that one.
Thank you.
So I'm on the Public Works Committee, and we had a big illegal dumping presentation in committee. And can you guess how many people showed up? The answer is 2. Ms. Forte was one of the people, and Ms. Asada is at every single council meeting, right? And so people have to show up to see what's being presented in front of committee, because that's where a lot of our work gets done. By the time our work gets to council, it's usually on the consent calendar. So making sure that we are checking those agendas, making sure that we're coming to those committee meetings, making sure that you are holding both me and Councilmember Fife accountable, the department heads accountable, and also showing up yourselves.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to respond to this question?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't fully understand what the change in administration reference is referencing, but you know, me and other OPW staff are always available to answer questions, respond to questions that you have. If we don't have an immediate answer, we can certainly research it and get back to you. But we are out there, you know, our crews are out there every day addressing this issue, and any information we can provide on what we're doing, we are happy to do so. We are happy to respond to specific service requests, and we're happy to take ideas and collaborate. So you know, we're open to suggestions and happy to be here working with you. So you know, just reach out and we're available.
Is there anyone on the illegal dumping team who would like to respond to this? The Faith in Action East Bay and Bebon? I can't see anyone because everyone's pinned.
Ernestine.
I would like to respond based upon the question that I put in the chat directed to Ms. Hathaway, as well as the response to Mr. Jenkins' statement. The question that I put in the chat to Ms. Hathaway, I will go, if you didn't see it, Ms. Hathaway, I'll go back and find it and read it to you. But basically I'm asking, why can't you have that proactive team out there every day, all day, in all of the districts of Oakland, and that if persons or community people, citizens would see those trucks out there every day, despite what has been a common statement about the more you pick up, the more trash is there. I personally believe that if you are out there every day doing that, then folk would be motivated to not drop trash, because they would know that there would be excessive fines once they're cited. So that's my concern. And I know that you guys speak a lot about what's in those reports, but many citizens in this city don't see the work that's being done. There are standard things that are being done, like the once a month bulky block, but seeing those proactive and those reactive trucks out there, we don't see those. the trash just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
So I know that our head of operations, John Hillman, is with us tonight, so he could provide some additional information. But we do deploy the crews at a minimum 5 days a week in the 4 zones of the city. We have specific routes that the trucks travel, and we can provide to you what those routes are, so you can know where the proactive crews work. And we have monthly reports of the debris, the volumes of debris that those crews are picking up in their routes, and the number of people who are on those crews. So if you haven't seen the trucks, I want to assure you we are out there and we are picking up a lot of debris, but I'm happy to share what our routes are and who the team is who's out there. I'm sure we could probably invite some of the teams who are actually on those trucks to come share their experience as well, if you want to hear from some of the frontline staff who who are out there. But John, do you have any thing you want to add about the deployment of our garbage blitz crews?
Absolutely. So we do deploy the crews out, and the question was, why can't we have them up there every day? And we do. They're just not patrolling the same exact area every day, because the city is large. And I know that folks, we suffer the same issue of going out and doing work and then seeing that work undone. And so we have teams spread across, as you mentioned, encampment management, doing our reactive, responding to the requests that have come in from 311, and then the proactive, who are out on standard patrols. The proactive, which is our garbage blitz crew, in addition to doing those patrols, is also responsible for going out and tending to the litter containers that are at the encampment spaces. And so I think this is an issue of city resources are stretched thin. And I think the resulting perspective from the citizens is they see the debris that's on the street. If it takes us a time to get to it, it feels like nothing is being done. And I can appreciate and respect that. But I also know that, as you mentioned, Kristen, we have tickets of debris. We can look at the tonnage of debris that's been collected day by day and see that, that's not a made up number. It literally was volumes of material that was picked up, taken to Davis Street, dumped off, and then we start over again. And yes, we are happy to share whatever information that's requested with regards to showing the efforts that we're putting into the work every day.
Thank you all very much for your responses. We're going to move on to the last question because we are running behind at least 10 minutes. I thought we were ahead of schedule, but we are not. And we definitely want to hear from Councilmembers Fife and Jenkins on the next question. So if we can move to that question, if I could ask if everyone has maybe 10 extra minutes to spare to stay on this meeting until it's finished. So let's go on with question 5, Duran.
Councilmember Fife and Councilmember Jenkins, we understand that you are working together on a plan to address illegal dumping. Can you please share your plan with us today? What is the timing to roll out the plan? What is the cost? How would your plan stop illegal dumping from occurring? And finally, what changes do you expect within the first year?
Councilmember Fife, I'll let you lay it out.
Thank you. And Councilmember Jenkins and myself are more so working with the city administrator on a way to address some of the challenges that arise from homelessness on our streets with RVs on our streets. So it's not directly related, but it is tangentially related. And the city administrator is not here to talk about his, the changes that he's bringing to the city council on our behalf at us, pushing him on this information. But I will share that I'm in partnership with our workers. And I think one of our representatives is on the line today, Ariana Casanova from SCIU 10 to 1. to look at some of the ways that our existing policy might be amended to address illegal dumping. We've been in conversation around this for several months now, and we have 4 specific points that we're researching. And I would turn the floor over to Ariana to share what we've discussed so far, if she's open and available to do that. And I will also share the reason that I think that's important is because as council members, Councilmember Jenkins and myself have the power of the purse with the city budget and our authority to manage city funds, but also legislative. But the people who are responsible for implementing what we pass in terms of our laws and resolutions and ordinances are the staff that are on this call tonight. So whenever I'm looking at policy that needs to change or be created, I first talk to the individuals who are responsible for carrying out the work of the city. So once again, I would open that up to Ariana.
Good evening. I don't know if you all can hear me. Can you guys hear me?
We hear you fine. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to go into a little bit and cover surface topics that we're working on. We've discussed some internal city administrative solutions that we're still waiting to hear back on. We're working on policy areas that would cover some of the different aspects of why we can't do enforcement. What are some of the loopholes that are causing some of the dumping? And last, you know, we're open to really sharing what the workers are willing to do. Sorry, I'm like in the middle of, I don't know if you caught all that noise, but so I'm happy to go into more of those details and working with the council members, working with the workers themselves to make sure that we cover that, as well as the city administrator. So, you know, the workers have been struggling with this issue and have seen the changes over the decades on how service has been provided, and would be happy to cover what might be more effective or more efficient as pilots, and also looking at expanding what does it really look like to do enforcement, so that we could have a level playing field on not just the dumping, but also stopping it in its tracks. I mean, I could go on and on and on and break it all down and look at what other cities around the Bay also do that are not totally codified in the city of Oakland. So for example, Hayward, San Francisco, they look at it differently, right? Some look at you can't carry certain things in major thoroughfares. Other look at how do we, you know, as one of your members brought up, that there was dumping near a creek. So waterways, there's different aspects of illegal dumping and impacts that there's different solutions we could either codify, or it could be an administrative way to be handled. And so we're happy to partner with whomever's willing to actually, you know, explore and try and take action on any of those items. And thank you to Councilmember Jenkins and Councilmember Fife for their leadership in working with the city workers on what some solutions could look like.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Jenkins, would you like to add anything to the program that you and Councilmember Fife are working on?
As Councilmember Fife stated, we're working on something more around the RVs and looking at ways that in a humane way that we can address the RVs. But I talked with Councilmember Fife today around illegal dumping, and hopefully she's going to send me something, and hopefully I can sponsor her legislation so that we can get to a place that we rid ourselves of illegal dumping. But that's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your responses tonight. There are many really great questions in the chat box. And if you want to indulge us for 5 more minutes to address 1 or 2 of them, or we can send them to you and hopefully get responses from you that we can respond to the folks who are here tonight at this meeting, because we are all concerned about this problem, and we're all experiencing it every single day. And but we also have a summary for this meeting and then the closing reflection before we can close this meeting out. So would you want to stay 5 more minutes, or do you want to just go ahead and finish it out? And it's up to you, Kristen and Mr. Ford and Carol and Kevin.
I will stay with you all for 5 more hours if we need to, because I feel like we have barely scratched the surface. I feel like I don't feel any more solid in how we're going to move forward than I did when we started this conversation and when we had our last one. I will say that my office is looking at, and this is not set in stone, but some of the things I've been talking to grassroots organizations in my district about is going to each and every encampment where there is blight, because a lot of people dump around homeless encampments that don't necessarily live there, and talk to them about being a good neighbor. And being a good neighbor means you don't allow dumping to take place around where your RV or your tent is in the meantime. And I'm just saying that in the meantime, until we can get everybody off the streets, that is my primary goal for being in office, to take a major dent out of homelessness, because I think that's where a lot of our public safety issues and our dumping issues come from. So if we address people being on the streets, get them off the streets, that's going to be 50% of the problem. That said, we're looking at, making sure people have the right size garbage bins. Kristen spoke to that, because there are several businesses who don't have garbage service at all, so they end up dumping all over the city. So we're looking at making sure that people have the right size garbage bins. We're going to be in conversation about our waste management contract, because I know they said that they could do more. We have to talk to them and negotiate with them when their contract comes up about what that actually looks like. And this organization, this coalition of groups, needs to be a part of that conversation and talking to us. And so when I didn't speak to, thank you, Ms. Sherry, for the notice, but I didn't say this when you asked, what do you need from us? I need you all to stay in communication with me, because I'm just listening to Manuel and I'm just really heartbroken, because we were dealing with this 5 years ago. We were doing all kinds of actions. Y'all came to ACE's office and we did a tour of East Oakland, where all the illegal dumping sites were. And it's worse now than it was then. And so I want to go back to what Michael Ford said also, which is we have to be strategic and look at why these things are happening, so we come up with the right solution. Because if we just come up with a bunch of solutions without understanding the root cause of what's going on, we're going to be right back here again, because we're just putting Band-Aids on really big issues. So I really probably want to get into a room with you all like we used to do at Ibasi, and have a roundtable about actual solutions, because you heard about everything that we're doing so far, which is amazing. Our staff is overstretched. We don't have enough. We have frozen positions. We're having difficulty hiring and others, but understanding everything that we're doing, and hats off to city workers who already do enough or amazing work, it's not enough. So what else can we be doing to make sure that we're making Oakland walkable and safe, and addressing the vermin that pop up from all of this trash being on the streets? Because I feel like we barely scratched the surface tonight. I'm sorry. And hopefully that's not disheartening. I'm just saying, I want to encourage everybody to get in a room face to face, so we can get some real ideas on a whiteboard and delegate and do all of the things to figure out some alternative solutions.
Faith in Action East Bay and Deepon would love to put something like that together, so we could get together and talk about these things. And thank you so much for suggesting that. Mary, I'm sure you have a few questions in the chat box from the chat box that you would like to bring forward. Could you do that now, please?
Yes. There's probably about 30 or 40 questions here.
No.
But for Michael Ford, I'll just read off several of them. If you could take a minute or two to answer, and then I'll go to the illegal dumping ones. A lot of questions. How many vehicles do you anticipate towing between February and the end of this year? I'll read them all out and then you can answer. How long does it take to have a vehicle towed once a report is made? Does it take days, weeks, or months after the initial report? The ownership of abandoned vehicles can be traced at DMV through the VIN numbers. Perhaps the registered owner can be held accountable unless they can document a legal chain of possession. And the last one is a suggestion. Encourage donation to nonprofit agencies who accept them. There are specific rules set by agencies, but at least compile a list and share it with the public as an alternative. I'll stop there, and then when you finish, I'll pick 4 for Kristen. Dr. Ford.
Thank you, Ms. Forte. So I expect that in our first year of operation, we'll tow between 3,500 and 4,000 vehicles, which again is would be about twice as many as the city was able to do for abandoned auto detail last year. It's still not enough, though, given the demand, and that's part of the real challenge. The city's ability to hold owners accountable, it needs to exist at the state level. And I'm actually working with some folks. I'm going to explore this at a conference in November, statewide conference, where I want to talk to other local staff and ask if there isn't a piece of legislation that we could maybe bring forward that would help local agencies hold registered owners accountable. Some states have that sort of policy, and I put a note in the chat to that effect. Yeah, absolutely. I think there is an opportunity for us to, again, strategically maybe create like an amnesty type drop-off lot where people could bring in their vehicles rather than leaving them on the streets, possibly even making them eligible for $1,500 sort of trade-in allowances. These are programs, I agree 100% with what's been said here, where we need to communicate and make sure that everybody in the community knows what types of programs. It's like trade in your clunker, get some cash so that you could buy an environmentally friendly car. These programs are out there, so I'm working to bring that forward. Yeah, again, lots of important things to do. So thank you for the questions, Mary.
Okay, and Kristen, I'll just pick a few here. Why doesn't the proactive work teams clean the streets every day? It may be true that the more you pick up, the more trash is being dumped, but I believe if citizens seeing full staff daily pick up trash in all 7 districts, citizens will see the constant street cleaning and become motivated to stop illegal dumping. And I think that kind of was answered. Are the trucks limited to what is on the route sheet, or can they stop at any dump site seen? I've seen crews go by and pass up 5 dumps and just pick up 1. So it's obviously not on their sheet. Another question, has contracting with private companies to assist in the removal of illegal dumping throughout the city even been considered? And the last one, might Oakland consider the use of drones to spot and track illegal dumpers? I know that the city of San Francisco is using drones. They have a pilot to just identify illegal dumping and report it into their 311. After that, I have one question that I'll give to you, as you close out, Barbara, please?
Okay.
So in answer to your question, so our, as I stated earlier, the crews are out there working Monday through Friday. Sometimes they also work on the weekends. When we are doing overtime, that sometimes happens when we have done a citywide blitz and we need to catch up on service requests. So we're out there a minimum of 5 days a week patrolling these routes. I'm happy to share the routes. If we have a reactive crew, those are the crews that respond to service requests and they see a pile, they can pick it up. If they pass it by, there may be a reason for that. It may be associated with a homeless encampment and they can't pick it up because there's some restriction there. I don't know if there's a full truck, but there are various reasons why I'm sorry.
Kristen, do you mind if I jump in and address part of this?
Please do.
Okay, so with regards to the crews that are out there, and you may see them drive by a pile of debris and wonder why. And so if they are on a reactive crew, which means they are given a list in the morning that has a designated number of stops that they have to make throughout the day. And so if they see dumping that has occurred, but it's not on their list, they may very well pass it by. That's one reason why you may see it. The other reason, as Kristen alluded to earlier, if they have picked up, particularly if you see one of the mini packers, those are the smaller ones, they get to a place where they're full. And so then they're making a beeline exit to try to get over to Davis Street to dump and get back so that they can reset and get back onto their route. And so those are two reasons. When they are on their just standard patrol and they're being proactive, then no, they should be stopping by every pile of debris they see and pick it up until their truck is full. And then they'll check in with their supervisor and go off to go dump and then come back and then start again.
Thanks, John. Thanks for that additional information. I believe there was a question about whether or not drones can patrol. We would have to look into that. Our Privacy Advisory Commission and our privacy ordinance has some very stringent restrictions on the use of video surveillance that we can use in the city. So we can review that ordinance and see if there's any restriction on that. We can look at, I'm sorry, what were the other two questions that you asked?
I think
contract with private companies.
Oh, private companies, yeah.
Companies, yeah.
So we do contract with the Beautification Council, which is a nonprofit, and Downtown Streets to do additional beautification, litter cleanup at homeless encampments. And we are also managing a contract with the Beautification Council where they are doing litter cleanup for Caltrans on Caltrans ramps, which obviously affects the beautification of the city, even though it's on Caltrans land, not city right of way. So we are working with them on that. And we're working actually right now on an RFP for solicitation for support services for illegal dumping, especially to get some of the smaller stuff so our crews can be more effective at getting through a site, getting the big debris. And then we have a contractor who can come through and get the smaller stuff that if it's not picked up affects the beautification. So we do work with third-party contractors on that.
Okay, well, thank you. And Barbara, the last question that I'll send your way is, your flyer referenced an action in December that this meeting is preparing for. What is that action?
So the action is around enforcement of illegal dumping and abandoned vehicles. And actually, we are preparing for that action now by having research meetings with all of the city council members to hear what everyone has to say about it. And then in compiling these notes, we're going to come together and maybe an in-person action. We're not sure which, because we're trying to see how many people will be able to attend either action on Zoom on Thursday, December 7th, or an action in person on Saturday, December 9th. So if you can check your calendars and let us know which date works best for you, that's going to determine what day we have this action on. But we're asking for all community members to come out and support in this action. So we really want to get something done about illegal dumping so that in the beginning of 2024, I mean, we can just kick it off. If we can do as much as we can at the end of this year and just kick it off, we got to get rid of this trash out of Oakland. You know, it just feels like a big octopus that's just sucking up Oakland. And it's all going up in trash. So, and Councilmember Jenkins, thank you so much for saying what you said about appearing at these meetings. Some of us are, you know, busy every day and can't make these meetings, but anyone who can, I encourage you to attend these meetings, because I know before COVID, a lot of us used to attend those meetings. That was part of our daily lives to do something like that, because we know that the community plays a huge role in what happens in this city. And that we are here to push you to do the best job you can for our city and to help us do the best job we can as well. So we recognize that we all have to do this together. So I'm encouraging everyone, and tonight we had over 70 people on this call, and I'm sure a lot of them learned a lot tonight that they had no idea of, but I also know that in some responses to me when I sent out invitations to this meeting, a lot of people were just complaining about this illegal dumping and abandoned vehicles in front of their homes for months on end. So it's important that we take our time and like you said too, Councilmember Fife, come together and start brainstorming on how we can work together on this and end this mess. So thank you so much for staying over. Everyone on this call, thank you for staying over. And John, I don't know what more you can say than what people have already heard in a summary. If you can take just a minute, and then we'll do a closing reflection and then we'll all go home.
Thanks, Barbara. You know, I have so much in the summary that it's basically rehashing what everybody said. So
yeah.
I don't really think I need to go through it. I'll send a written thing in the next day or two to our IDLOC.
And we will send the questions to you, and hopefully you can take a little time to respond to the questions from the chat box so that we can get back to the members who were in this meeting tonight. Thank you all so much for attending and indulging us in this conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity and want to be continuously in conversation and work with you all. We live here too. I live in the flats in West Oakland, and it's not acceptable.
Yeah, it's not. Okay, Maria, would you like to close us out with a little prayer? Is Maria still on the call?
Señor, te damos gracias. Sí. Gracias a todos.
Maria, we're having difficulty. Maybe something's happening with your internet service or something. Now you're muted.
Miss Barbara, I think it's her headset.
Oh.
Ya no tengo tiempo.
Reverend Duran, could you kind of pitch it for us right quick?
Sure.
Oh, thank you so much.
Sure. First of all, thank you for everyone who have came out. Thank you for all persons who work for the city. And please keep in mind that our frustration is not against you. It is against your office that you represent. And even though that you're there for a specific time, the next person that come in will be dealing with some of the same issues that you're deal with. And the frustrating is not on them, it's on the office. So we appreciate the wonderful, tremendous work that you do and the energy that you take on with the city to try and make it right. And we thank you for it. If you would allow me to just express a prayer in my faith. Dear God in heaven, we thank you for each and every person that has came out today to express their concerns about the city of Oakland. We thank you for all of those who are leaders of community organizations, and we thank you for all of those who are leaders of the city departments. And we ask you, oh God, to mend us together, to work together collaboratively and in unity to accomplish the goals to make this city a better place, not just for us, but for our children and those that come behind them. These and other blessings we ask in our Lord and Savior Jesus' name. Amen.